Giving Tuesday, it's coming up in a few weeks. Do you know what you need to do? Welcome to the Nonprofit Digital Success Podcast. I'm your host, David, and in this episode, we're going to be talking all things about Giving Tuesday with Kelly Garcia. Allow me to introduce her. She's a program manager and marketing director for NPO Centric, which is a national nonprofit incubator. She helps nonprofits get off the ground, go, and then grow through education and tools that facilitate capacity building and self-development. Before entering nonprofit world, Kelly was a top earner in a network marketing company where she built a high-performing team and trained hundreds of other network marketers on how to build their own thriving organization. So she knows what she's talking about. And as a side note, she's an avid personality type analyst and uses Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, astrology, human design in many aspects of her life. The last time I took the Myers-Briggs test, I was an INTJ. Kelly, what's your personality type?
I'm right there with you, except I am an ENTJ.
Awesome. A
We're
little bit
the
of
same
insight for
size of a
anybody.
different coin.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of insight as to like who we are as people, and our, I guess, our psychological profile in terms
Yeah,
of what we do. So, Kelly, thank you so
absolutely.
much for being on the show with us today. How's life? How's everything going?
David, thank you so much for having me on. Life is well. It's wonderful, actually. We are busy and we just wrapped up a big event that we have annually where we do a Shark Tank style pitch competition for local nonprofits. We teach them how to pitch, and then they give a 3-minute pitch in a big 300-seat auditorium to judges and walk away with 20, 15, or $10,000.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it takes over our lives for a little while, but we're ready to move on to end of year. So that really kicks off here with our subject today, Giving Tuesday.
100%. So there's Giving Tuesday, and then a few weeks later, or I guess right afterwards, people should be thinking about promotions for end of year, get your tax receipts and those kind of
Yep.
other donations that come in afterwards. So let's chat about Giving Tuesday. That's kind of the point of the episode today. Why should nonprofits care about Giving Tuesday and participate in it?
Well, Giving Tuesday is actually the single largest online donation day for nonprofits in the US. So, in that one day, your nonprofit is likely to receive the most online donations it will in any single given day because there is such a national push by the Giving Tuesday organization that created this as the counterpoint to, Black Friday and Cyber Monday, which is where it stems from. And if you're not taking advantage of that, you're really missing out because there's another organization that's probably getting dollars somebody would rather give to you if you're not participating.
A little bit further on what you were talking about in terms of like Black Friday, you've got the holidays coming up. People sometimes feel really guilty about spending that kind of money that they do. And there's, an increase. I mean, maybe this year is a little bit different with, the big R word, the recession and things like that are potentially or are in the works or are happening, and it's affecting people, food prices, gas prices, all that type of stuff. But people want to give back. They want to feel good around the holidays. And if you can leverage some kind of emotional connection
Yeah.
with people and be like, hey, you need to donate to cause X, maybe spend $100 less on the gifts that you're buying for your family instead of $1,000, spend $900, right?
Right.
Send some money this way and create some positive impact.
Yeah. You could probably get away with the 75-inch TV instead of the 85-inch TV that's on sale on Black Friday and take that money and put it into a good cause. But only if you know that good cause is ready to take your money.
Right. Right. So, we talk about Giving Tuesday. There's hashtags, there's social media campaigns, there's email campaigns. I would hate to ask people to do like a traditional snail mail, put something in the post and like send it off, because that kind of like defeats the purpose a little bit because you're spending money to make that happen.
Yeah.
But what is the first step that people should take in order to prepare for
Well,
Giving
the
Tuesday?
first step is actually something that if you aren't already signed up and ready, you need to go do it like 3 days ago. And that is to register your organization for charitable giving status on your social media platforms. And that starts with Facebook or Meta, because that will carry over to your Instagram account. You do it in one place for both, and that's on Facebook. And their website, they say it takes about 21 days to get a decision for them to review your documents. We are hearing that it actually takes a little closer to 30 days, and Giving Tuesday is the 29th of November. So just keep in mind that if you haven't done that yet, you really need to go and do that. And it is not a difficult process. There is some documents that you need to have. And I actually have an infographic that we will make sure is in your notes page. Everyone can have it, that walks you through everything you need step by step. It's very easy, but you do need to get it done so that you can put that donate now button on your posts and in your content. Because one thing we have determined is that the minute somebody decides they would like to make a donation to your organization, the more steps between the internal decision and the putting their credit card number somewhere, the less likely they're going to do it. So if they can hit donate now and the next screen is literally, here's where my credit card goes, you are going to capture more people. But if they read a very compelling post or see a video and they're like, oh, I just want to give my $25 to this person, and then they have to exit the social media platform, go find your website, find the button on your website to make a donation. All of those steps are going to decrease the possibility that they will follow through in the moment, because I'll get to that later. I can't do it on my phone. I'll do it when I get to the computer. And that's where you lose people.
Yeah, and I think that's a really key point, right? You want to make it as simple for people to make a donation. Let's say you don't end up getting the status early enough and you
Right.
have a donate, you can still do call to actions.
Yes.
And if you have them jump to a page in your site, don't send them to your homepage. Send them to the actual donation page, but that donation page needs to be simple. What is the minimal amount of information you need for somebody to be able to process that transaction? Name, credit card, maybe a postal code, right? Zip code, postal code, obviously CVV, right? And the amount that they want to donate, but don't ask them for the address. They need email. You'll need an email address as well, but make it as minimal as possible. Don't ask them, why are they donating to you? Don't ask them where they found out about you. Don't ask them for all their spouse's information or their children's information or what type of blood they have or anything
They don't need to set up an account to give you money, please. I've run into that so many times where people are trying to capture so much information, and it's not ideal.
Right? Get that information at a later date. You want to make it as simple as possible. If you can integrate like Apple Pay or Google Wallet or something like that, or PayPal, just to make it like they sign in, done, it's paid, they don't have to enter their credit card. It just like as simple as possible, I think is really the key on that as well. Something else that I want to mention, people should be looking at making sure that they're tracking stuff. So if you're in the Facebook platform or Meta and you're asking for donations there, okay, there's some analytics you can get from there. If you're pushing people through to your website, make sure you've got something like Google Analytics installed on your site so that you can track things. You could potentially use Facebook Pixel as well to track back and forth out of the site.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's really important to know, if people are clicking through to your site and not following through, what step of the process are they leaving off at, so that you can make adjustments and in the future avoid those issues. So it's really great to use that analytical information so that you're informing yourself. I agree with that 100%.
Absolutely. So is Giving Tuesday only a social media event?
Now, it is primarily a social media event. And I think that the majority of your nonprofit organizations are going to embrace utilizing solely social media for that. If you have a huge, big organization that has the marketing budget, feel free to send some piece of direct mail. I wouldn't necessarily send something very elaborate, but you could send something, but you need to make sure it's going to be in their mailbox before Thanksgiving, because that time people aren't checking the mail. I mean, I'm not going to the mailbox on Saturday between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. I'm busy. I have things to do, family around, so you want to get the information into people's hands beforehand if that's what you choose to do. But Giving Tuesday is really designed to leverage the power of social media and to use that to your advantage. And if you're doing social media well, you're probably doing it with a very low cost. Your overhead on your social media should not be high if you're doing it well. If you're just starting out, maybe you're spending a little money on Facebook ads, but you don't need to spend a lot. You just need to really be strategic with how you're utilizing social media so that you can make sure you're getting that information in the hearts and minds of the right people.
Yeah, and something else to kind of think about with this is people need to know who you are. So you've got your nonprofit, you have the people that are using your programs or your services or are coming on site for whatever you're doing, or if you give out meals or if you deliver food hampers to people. So you've got like, I'm going to call those like your core, right? So you have your core people that know who you are. You need to communicate with them now. Don't wait for the day before Giving Tuesday saying, hey, tomorrow's Giving Tuesday, donate. Don't wait for Giving Tuesday to do anything. You need to build up some momentum. You need to get it in the back of people's minds. Hey, this is coming up. You need to share this email with your friend, with your colleagues, with your family, and let people know this is a cause you care about and help to drive some attention to what your nonprofit's doing.
Yeah, in our Giving Tuesday plan that we've set up for our clients and for pretty much anybody who wants to take advantage of it, we talk about a 3-week campaign where you're getting information out for 3 solid weeks before the actual day. What you're doing is creating that sense of buildup. You're not putting the content out with an ask for those 3 weeks. You're putting the content out really just to make people aware of the services that you're providing, the good that you're doing. And one of the things we're really trying to help our nonprofits understand is that while it is important to show people what good their donations are doing, there's a lot of power in framing that as, here is what your donation is doing right now. And then when you're telling the story, to frame it as the benefits that these people are receiving is because of you. It's like you said earlier, people have some guilt. They want to feel good about themselves. And I'm not saying we should capitalize on their guilt, but I am saying we need to leverage human emotion to help us do the work we're trying to do. And there's nothing wrong with wording things in a way that helps people to see it's not the good we're doing. We're doing the good because you help us. And we wouldn't be able to do that without those donations. And the more that you make that clear, the better outcome you're going to have on Giving Tuesday when you do make your ask, because you've been putting that information into those hearts and minds of your viewers, of your network, and they're going to be more willing to part with their money.
I have an ebook, so I'll put a link with. We were talking about a few things here, so we're on the show notes page. I'm going to have a link to it, but I have an ebook that I put together that talks about the 3 words that you should include in your messaging to increase your donations by 20%. And you touched on one of them there. It's talking about you. So you want to talk to the people directly. So don't talk about the organization and the great work the organization is doing. You want to talk about and talk directly to the donor and the impact that they are having, right? And that's going to help create that bond and that connection.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much more powerful than we give out food baskets. It's so much more powerful when you say, you help us provide these food baskets because of you. That just changes people's perspective so much.
Yeah. And, you could even take it one step further and say, you are helping to feed the hungry.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And connect them directly to the output that your organization is doing.
Yep.
It's like, oh, I'm doing that. Yeah. Right. Okay. I'm going to give an extra $10 or $100 or 20,000 or whatever. Right.
Whatever. Yeah.
Okay. So Giving Tuesday, it's an important event. Focus on social, push some emails out, get out there early ahead of it, send out messages and make people aware about the impact you're having. Not that Giving Tuesday necessarily is coming. As it gets closer to the date, maybe you filter kind of some of that messaging in there. But what are maybe the top 2 or 3 most important things that a nonprofit needs to do to have a successful Giving Tuesday?
You need to have a cohesive messaging plan, and you need to think it through in advance. You absolutely have to plan your content. When you're talking about what you're doing on social media, you cannot be all over the place. If your content does not have a cohesive theme, you're going to lose people, because what you're doing with that social media content when you're putting out information, especially when it's not attached to an ask, is you're establishing trust between you and your donors. They're beginning to understand that when they give, that money is well used. So you have to have a cohesive plan, and you need to make sure you're constantly establishing trust with your donors so that they feel good about giving their money to you. I have run into quite a few people recently, when they learned that I had transitioned to working in the nonprofit space, who were so skeptical of giving to nonprofits, especially large national nonprofits. I think there's this push against capitalism in our society right now, especially in the younger millennial Gen Z generations. And they're like, why am I going to give to, I won't name drop, but a large national pink ribbon donation organization when they pay their CEO $6 million? And it's like, well, that's just a portion of what they, and I can rationalize that, but not everyone can. So you really need to establish that trust with your donors, that they know you're putting your money to good use. So having a good plan, establishing trust with your donors, I think those two things are essential. And the third thing is to leverage your existing network. You don't just need to be the only person sharing your content. Your board should be sharing your content. Your volunteers should be sharing your content, and they all should be consistent in their messaging. So everybody should understand these are the stories we're really working with, these clients, these programs. These are the things we really want to put out, and this is the information that we're trying to share. So you need to get everybody on the same page, and they can share with their own voice, but they still need to be on the same page. That goes back to establishing trust. If people hear the same sort of story, but the details are really different, they're going to start to be a little more skeptical, and people are just skeptical by nature. So you want to give them fewer reasons to be skeptical, not more. So get everyone on the same page, have a very consistent message, and work with the mindset of establishing trust always, always.
As a little bit of a pro tip, sneaky tip, don't tell anybody that I'm saying this. You could even put together a little bit of a resource kit for the people that are in your programs to help share,
Yep.
for the volunteers, for the staff, for the board. Create 3 or 4 social messages, and maybe you have some blanks in there for them to
Mm-hmm.
put in whatever, right? And you can share that with them and say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, take 5 minutes and post this on your LinkedIn, or
Yep.
for the board of directors, or post this on your social, whatever channel it happens to be. I would bet that, depending on your relationship with the board and your level in the organization, if you called the members of the board or sent them a message directly and said, hey, we need your support with this, I don't know why they wouldn't. They're there on the
Right.
board. They're there to help your organization succeed, right? To spend 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 5 minutes, like, how long does it take to copy, paste, add in a couple words and post? Like, it's
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah. And it doesn't even take you very long to set that up, to make yourself a nice little Google Drive folder that has the assets that they need. If you're using video, which please, I hope you are on your social media, please tell me you're using video and not just pictures with words. Um, because that's where the future of social media lies. But put those digital assets together where they can easily download them right to their iPhone and post it on Instagram, post it on Facebook, and take the work part out of it and make it really simple. That's a great tip.
Um, cool. So we're talking about the messaging, right? But and you talked about consistency, but how can nonprofits ensure that their messaging is consistent?
I think that it's really important to focus on your story. And when you have either peer to peer campaigns where you're using people that are maybe regular donors and they're helping you to get the word out, it goes back to exactly what we just talked about with the board, giving them the information so that they can utilize it and to be always sharing. One thing that I find I run into a lot with nonprofits that don't necessarily have a social media manager, they're just sort of figuring it out on their own, which is the majority of my clients, is that they won't share the same story more than once. And I'm like, you need to understand that you can put that story out on your social media like 75 times in the course of 3 months. You don't need to find new stories all the time. Use those powerful ones that you know really touch people and share them over and over again. You have to remember that a very small percentage of people see every single one of your posts. So the more you share that information, the better. Don't hesitate to reshare something you've used before, because that actually helps. Even if somebody did already see it before, it's usually on the third or fourth interaction with the same piece of information that someone will choose to take action. It's why radiothons that last for 3 days work and people donate on the third day. They listened all 3 days. They didn't just get tired of hearing about it. You just finally broke through. So there's power in being repetitive, and you actually help your message stay consistent, because when you're repetitive and then people who interact with your content on a regular basis run into somebody at the grocery store, they are going to share your message almost to the T because they heard it 7 times. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just can't let that stop you. I run into so many people that are, well, I already told people about how Sarah improved once she got to use our services. Well, yeah, but it's a really good story. So tell it again. It's okay.
Exactly. I mean, like think about TV commercials. I mean, all right, broadcast television has changed a lot in the last, 2 years, 3 years, let alone the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But think back to maybe your childhood. You were watching some TV, or when you were a teenager, those jingles from some of the commercials. There's a reason that they put the same commercials every commercial break for the first while that they have it. And then, they kind of like slow it down later on, but they're not producing a new commercial every single time. There might be 2 or 3 iterations, but they keep using it over and over and over. They don't make 500 commercials and then, spread them out. So I think in terms of being consistent, that's a really good point. And I think in terms of being persistent, I think that's kind of the right word that we're talking about here, is making sure that you're out there and you're putting your message out there, and it's the same message and you can use it over and over and over and leverage it. And look, if you've got some really great story about how Giving Tuesday last year helped your organization impact this, and this, use that this year. Be like, look, we raised $50,000 last year on Giving Tuesday. We were able to help fight homelessness and bring, I don't know, maybe 300 people off the streets for 2 months with that money. This year, we want to help 50, or we want to help 100. Make that happen, right? And you can talk and use maybe those stories. Some organizations might be a little bit hard for them to kind of think about stories, but think about where your donor funds are going and how they're helping and what they're doing. And there's got to be someone somewhere that has a story about where the funding helped.
Right. And share that. Get the message out.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got great messaging, the cadence that we should be sending the content out. We're talking about how to be consistent with the messaging and create some storytelling, which, generates interest and emotional connection, which we know scientifically has proven that you'll be able to interact with more people and get more donations and things because of that. So Giving Tuesday's done. You've collected, you go, yay, we raised, this much money, and here's what it's going to do and how we're going to help. What's the next step? How can you transition from Giving Tuesday into end of year giving?
Well, I think of Giving Tuesday as the catalyst for your end of year giving program. And I think that you can utilize a lot of the same techniques that we're talking about, which is having, a structured plan that's going to take you through the end of the year, and having a consistent messaging. But what you really want to do is very similar to what you were talking about when it comes to comparing last year's Giving Tuesday. So if you have a very strong idea, and you should, of how the funds that you did take in on that day are going to be used. It's a great way to jump off. So you can say, we earned enough to do X, but we know that we need to serve this many more people. We need to get to Z, and this is what we need to do to get there. And I think there's a great deal of value in telling people, we got this far in this marathon and we have this much farther to go, and we need your help to get there, because people feel good when they feel like they're a part of something. But first and foremost, you do need to wrap up your Giving Tuesday with gratitude. You need to make sure that people are able to experience that good feeling that they're hoping to get out of what they gave. So don't turn around and send every person on your Giving Tuesday donation list another letter or email asking them to make a second donation. Please send them a thank you that has no ask, because you don't want to do thanks with an ask. It comes off as disingenuous, and it lacks that real feeling of gratitude. So really thank people and put a lot of effort and time into thanking people on your social media channels, because this is a social media event. So make sure you're really highlighting, especially if you get some bigger donations, make sure you're reaching out to those people personally, build those relationships, and make sure the gratitude comes through above all else. And then take all of the things that you've just learned about keeping your messaging consistent and roll that over to your end of the year plan. Share where you got in your fundraising goal and how much farther you have to go, and keep people updated on that. You know, I feel like when people can see that little thermometer money climbing up, they're more inclined to, even if they've already given, give again. And keep utilizing your social media. As you roll into the end of the year, I think most of our nonprofits are going to start doing a lot heavier email and direct mail reaching out, because that's more traditional, and the end of the year is definitely a more traditional giving period. And you want to make sure that when people start to realize that they need to get those tax receipts, you really need to make sure that you're hitting all of those points with the people that are going to be making those larger year-end donations. But it's just so important to keep that consistent theme around your messaging as you roll into the end of the year.
Yeah, so two things I want to touch on there. You talked about gratitude. Absolutely, you need to make sure that you're saying thank you. And I would challenge everybody listening to this, I challenge you, the bigger donations that you get, make a quick 5, 10, 12-second video and email that to the people that made those bigger donations, and see how far that will get you down the road. It'll open a door. It should ideally open a door for some conversations. And, you know, one of those questions you should ask is, why did you give this? What is it that drove you to donate this? And you're going to learn more about your audience. You're going to learn more about your donor base, about why people care about what you do as an organization. And then you can refine your messaging. You can come up with stories that, or find those stories that tie closer to those things that really resonate with the bigger donors.
Mm-hmm.
And ideally leverage that to get more donations or increase donations over time.
I was going to say, in addition to sending them a video, which I'm big on video, so I think that that's brilliant. I think one other thing that a lot of our nonprofits could do better is, once you've got somebody who has given larger donations or even a larger donation, you can really impact them, if it's possible within the framework of what you do, to invite them in to see their dollars at work. I mean, it's fine and good to have nice dinners and bring people in and show a slideshow or play a video of your dollars at work. But there's a tangible thing that's missing from that if you can bring somebody, if you can call up a large donor and say, hey, we're doing a huge food basket distribution on Saturday at this location, and I'm sure you're busy, but I would love it if you could just stop by and see what we're doing with your dollars. And the people who will come to those types of things, those are the people who turn into repeat long-term partnerships because they feel included. And it goes right back to what we said at the beginning about people don't want to feel guilty and they want to feel good. And if you can help them with that by showing them and giving, you're not asking them to come pass the baskets out. Just come take a look at what we're doing so they can see firsthand the impact that their money is making.
And if you don't have the guts to invite them, or if they can't make it, take a couple pictures. Shoot a quick, like 2-3 second video of it. Hey, like this is what's going on. Grab your phone. Like almost everybody's got a smartphone, right? Grab it, shoot yourself like a selfie. Hey, look at what's happening behind us. We're packing up 300 food baskets and we're going to be sending these out. Thank you so much, Kelly, for your donation. Giving Tuesday. This is how we're helping. And like, how long was that? That was what, 4 seconds, 5 seconds?
Yeah, maybe 10, but
right?
Still, it's great.
And, send it out. And, if you want to personalize it to the person, cool. If you want to make a little bit more of a generic one, you can send it out to a number of people as well. So thank you. Yes, that should absolutely be at the top of everybody's list. The second thing that I wanted to just touch on briefly is there is a possibility that you will exceed whatever your goal is for Giving Tuesday. So if you're asking people or you're thanking them and then, you go into end of year donor, tax receipt kind of giving type stuff, if you've exceeded your goal, you can create stretch goals, right? And you can say, okay, for this much more, we'll be able to create this impact. We'll be able to buy another 10 beds in this clinic. We'll be able to help feed this many more families. We'll be able to create programs that'll help troubled youth in certain areas, right? So if you're able to create those type of additional impact stories and ways that people can help. So yeah, okay, you've raised 100,000 or 50,000 or 20,000 or 5,000, whatever your goal was for Giving Tuesday. What is the stretch goal for end of year, right? Like if you've exceeded it, if you had a goal of $50,000 and you got 80,000, what's that next goal? What is it that you're going to push towards? And I think planning that out, thinking about it in advance so that you're not at the last minute scrambling to figure it all out, right? There's a lot of time to sort that out. Think about it now and be like, all right, I want to exceed our goal. What is that going to look like? How can we communicate that beyond that? Because if somebody goes to the donation page or they see the thermometer or like the ticker, you've raised like 95% of your goal or 105% of your goal, what's going to motivate them to make that donation, right? So keep your eye on that, maybe adjust the goal over time, maybe talk about those kind of stretch goals.
Absolutely. I think that, like you said, having the awareness in advance is key. You need to be able to communicate to your donors what it is that their money will do. And so if you exceed your goal, you should already know. You should know in advance, if we exceed our goal, this is the next step. This is the next thing we will do. So you're absolutely right. Having that in your mind and on paper somewhere is important.
Don't set your goal at $1, right? Yeah. And then exceed it by like 800,000% or whatever that happens to be, right? But, like set realistic and attainable goals and then have those other pieces that you can put in place. You can send out messaging day of. If you hit your goal by 11 in the morning on Giving Tuesday, right? Send out a note and be like, I can't believe this happened, right? This is unbelievable. We are so psyched about this. We want to create more change and we have these other things that we're going to do and send that out and set it up in a way where you can implement it relatively quickly. Kelly, thank you so much. These are amazing insights about Giving Tuesday and end of year donations. I hope people listening have been able to get some advice and some pointers from our conversation. And like I said, I challenge everybody to shoot a video and send it to one of your biggest donors on Giving Tuesday, either the day of when you see like a really big donation come in or later that night or the following day. But you want to make sure that you're sending it really close to when that is. So definitely. So that's the first challenge. Second challenge that I want to ask everybody is to tell somebody about something that you picked up in this episode today. Because what we really want to do, we're here to empower you. We're here to help you serve your communities better. And the only way that you're really going to be able to do that, the only way that we can help you is by taking something that you've heard This is all free information. Take something that you've heard and tell somebody you must know somebody that works for a nonprofit or works in your nonprofit. You passing them in the hallway or you see them on Slack or Messenger or whatever you communicate. Just be like, hey, I can't believe I heard about this today. Yeah, we should start talking about our messaging. How
Yeah,
easy is it?
absolutely.
If anybody wants to get in touch with you, Kelly, what do they need to do?
The best place to reach out to us is just NPO Centric.org. That's our website. All of our contact information is on there. We're on Facebook and Instagram, also just at NPO Centric. And we are here with tons of free information as well as a monthly subscription that offers you access to our digital platform, that we have everything from how to get your board in shape to financial information. Basically, from zero to up and running, we have everything that you need. And once you're up and running, we have everything you need to get where you're trying to go. So that's on our website, npocentric.org, as well as tons of free information. And I do have, for the listeners of the podcast, a free Giving Tuesday guidebook. It's the Guide to a Great Giving Tuesday 2022. And that's a free ebook for anybody who wants to grab it. And I know you'll put the link in the show notes, David, as well as the infographic I mentioned earlier. You can put that right on the website.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, so we have the show notes page. We'll talk about that in a second on how to get there. The downloadable guide is really awesome. npocentric.org. Check it out. There's some really amazing, great resources there. If you're interested, their monthly plan is actually really cost effective and super, super high value. I've taken a look through some of the content that they have in there. They've got guides and templates and all kinds of stuff like that that'll really help you drive your mission forward. So super awesome. And the ebook, I haven't read it yet. I will take a look at that. But yeah, check it out. Kelly, thanks so much for joining in. It's been great having you on the Nonprofit Digital Success Podcast. To everybody listening, if you want any of the resources that Kelly provided or that I spoke about on this episode, head over to our podcast page at nonprofitdigitalsuccess.com/podcast. Click on this episode for all the details. Share it with your friends, your family, whoever. Just share it, right? Let's make the world better. And until next time, keep on being successful.